This is Citizen Live at 1. A very good afternoon and thank you for joining us. I'm Hussein Mohammed. Bungoma Senator Moses Wetangula wants the government to make public the trade deals it signed with Nigeria last week. While visiting Nigeria last week, President Uhuru Kenyatta, who was accompanied by several cabinet secretaries and businessmen, signed trade agreements that will see Kenya export tea and flowers to Nigeria. Now, according to Wetangula, Kenyans should be informed of the full details of the trade agreements.
The only thing you can learn from Nigeria is how not to manage your oil. Sasa mnasikia Nigeria, out of every 100 barrels of oil, 80 zinapotea. Sasa Jubilee imeenda Nigeria kujifundisha vile watapoteza mafuta yetu. Na hiyo hatutakubali. Na sheria inasema all government agreements signed must be made public. We as code, we demand to see published in all the dailies all the trade agreements that were signed in Nigeria by President Uhuru and his host. Wananchi wajue ni nini wamepeana kwa Wanigeria na Nigeria wametupa nini katika hii uhusiano.
Now, several MPs from Ukambani region have asked the government not to victimize chiefs and their assistants over failure to deal with illicit brew in their areas. The MPs say the government should instead address real issues such as poverty eradication and creation of employment. Now, they were reacting to the interdiction of administrators following the deaths of over 80 people who consumed illicit brew laced with methanol.
One, the Minister of Security in this country started sacking a sub-chief or a chief in the village when they know it is their duty, their responsibility to make sure that they don't issue licenses. They even Kenya Bureau of Standards, they are giving licenses. Kenya Revenue Authority wanachukua ushuru kutoka kwao. Why then again should we go down to the ground and start now victimizing the chiefs?
Personally, I disagree with him on the sacking of the chiefs and those people. Chief aendangi kwa mbaa kuangalia ile pombe iko ndani inawekwa nini. DC aendangi kwa baa kuangalia ile pombe ileletwa huku kana iko na brand imewekwa Kebs ama imewekwa nini. Hiyo pombe was a licensed drink.
Now, meanwhile, a joint mass for 44 illicit brew victims is currently underway in Embu County. The mass is being held at the Embu Stadium, and our reporter Evelyn Amboy is on the ground and joins us live on phone from Embu. Evelyn, what do you have?
Well, Hussein, as you just said, we are at the Embu Stadium where a joint prayer and funeral service for those victims who died as a result of consuming illicit liquor is currently ongoing. The mood here is somber. It began at 10:30 this morning, and it is a service that has seen several leaders in attendance, led by the Deputy Governor, Joe Sinditi, the Embu Senator, Lenny Kivuti, and the MP Mbere South, who's Mutava Musemi. The leaders, of course, all urging residents to avoid drinking the illicit liquor. And then, of course, leaders like Nakada Chair John Mutudo, who's also in attendance, saying that no brew should be everyone must have authorization from the manufacturers before they sell any illicit brew, and those manufacturers should have authorization from Nakada before they begin selling the liquor. But of course, as I said earlier, the mood here is somber, and most leaders have steered clear of politics, just urging the residents to avoid consumption of illicit liquor and trying to address the issues that, of course, are underlying, including unemployment and education challenges which are ongoing here in Embu. A total of 43 people, Hussein, have died so far as a result of consumption of the illicit brew. 3 have already been buried. 26 are expected to be buried today. 7 expected to be buried tomorrow, 2 on Wednesday, and 1 on Thursday. 4 bodies still remain unidentified according to the regional leaders here. And the regional commissioner has assured every family they'll receive 50,000 shillings because they've already catered for the funeral expenses. They're hoping that the 50,000 shillings will be used by each family to maybe set up businesses or something that will keep the youth here or the families busy so that they may not be able to get into the temptation of engaging in illicit liquor. So they're trying to look for long-term effect long-term solutions to ensure that this never happens again. Most of the leaders who are even coming are saying that this happened a few years ago. They had about 13 people who died. This is an increase of 30 more people. So they're saying a lot more stringent measures must be put in place, and leaders just can't come up and say residents should stop engaging in such acts. So they're saying that they're trying to look for ways to motivate the youth and to motivate families who are unemployed to set up their businesses so that they can be able to improve their lives and, as a result, disengage from such acts as drinking illicit liquor, to say.
Right, of course, we'll be joining Evelyn Mboy in our subsequent bulletins for more on what transpired in Embu. Still in Embu, but differently now because, you know, the deputy governor is at the funeral service. Where is the governor? Well, we have news of the governor. The High Court has dismissed an application filed by Governor Martin Wambora to stop the Senate from probing allegations leveled against him by the Embu County Assembly. Justice Richard Mongo dismissed Wambora's application, stating that he did not provide sufficient grounds upon which the orders could be granted. Wambora failed to appear yesterday for the commencement of the hearings before the Senate committee probing the matter, demanding that the committee rescues itself. Wambora maintains that since it is the same committee that had the first petition, then he is not confident that he will be accorded a fair hearing. Of course, we'll bring you that story later on. Now, court leaders have declared their support for the Central Organization of Trade Unions, COTU, claiming that the newly formed PUSETU was a government project. Led by the CI Senator James Orengo, the leaders accused Labour Cabinet Secretary Kazungu Kambi of meddling in the affairs of trade unions.
The leaders were speaking in Kasipul Kabondo constituency, where they accused the government of attempting to divide the workers following the creation of PUSETU.
I was very disappointed with the government in their efforts in trying to divide the trade union movement. These people have no sense of history. That is why they want to divide COTU.
Ukishanyonya ndio unaanza kucrawl, alafu unasimama, alafu unatembea. Lakini kama wewe ni mtoto ambaye ametumwa utakufa, si ndio? So let us ask the Minister for Labour to keep off COTU affairs. Let him leave us alone. Let COTU do its job. Let COTU remain the union that is working. Any other union can come, but do not antagonize unions so that you weaken the union, the trade union movement in this country.
Kutengeneza vyama ndogo kama PUSETU, hiyo hatutakubali. Chama ambacho tumejua tukizaliwa ni COTU.
The leaders further claim that the Labour Cabinet Secretary Kazungu Kambi was being used by some high-ranking people in the government to wage war against COTU.
Sio serikali yote, ni watu wachache katika serikali ambao wana nia mbaya kwa serikali pia ndio walianza kupiga COTU. Because ukipiga chama kikuu cha wafanyikazi na sio kiongozwi na kiongozi hivi, kinaongozwa na kiongozi wa kimataifa kwa uongozi wa vyama vya wafanyikazi. Wewe unapiga serikali ya uhuru.
What they are eyeing is the workers' money in NSSF, the contributions that go to NHIF.
Even after endorsing PUSETU, the government appeared to have made an about-turn during the Labour Day celebrations at Uhuru Park, claiming to recognize COTU as the only trade union representing the workers. Esther Kahumbi, Citizen Live at 1.
The leaders from West Pokot are now asking the government to urgently supply relief food for thousands of people who are starving in the area. West Pokot Governor Simon Kachapin says the relief food should be provided urgently to avoid deaths due to hunger. Mukami Chaka with the details.
Rains have failed them yet again, and as tradition demands, they have to move in search of pasture for their livestock. Their herd, their life. The aged are left behind hungry and thirsty. The county government has donated 2,000 bags of maize and 500 bags of beans, but West Pokot Governor Simon Kachapin says he has no capacity to deal with the now dire situation.
Mpaka saa hii ni watu zaidi ya 60,000 wameathiriwa kabisa. Wale most vulnerable. The situation is getting worse actually.
3 schools have closed in the area due to lack of food and water. The children too weak to learn. Over 1,000 herd of cattle have died due to the drought, and with the rainfall failure, the situation can only get worse. The leaders are now calling on the national government to mitigate the situation.
Sasa tumetenga kwa kaunti hawezi tosha kuweza kucompensate wakulima kwa mifuko yao. Tungeomba wizara kupitia serikali kuu kwamba ile mipango kama kuna fedha huko pia kwa ile mipango ya kuweza kununua mifuko ya wakulima ili waweze kuweka pesa kununua tena.
Kachapin was speaking after touring Oro area, which is one of the worst hit areas in the county. Mukami Chaka, Citizen Live at 1.
Now, in a bid to boost security within the city, Nairobi County Senator Mike Sonko has distributed security checks equipment for matatu operators to avoid cases where matatus are the targets of criminals. The gadgets are to be used in bus stages within the city, and the senator has employed youth who will man bus stages in all the city bus stages to carry out security checks for passengers boarding matatus. Addressing members of the public, Sonko promised to reward 100,000 shillings to anyone who will provide useful information about Al-Shabaab sympathizers.
Tunasaidiana na PSP operators kuhakikisha kila stage iko na gadget ya kusearch. Tumeandika mpaka wanawake watakuwa na search kina mama. Na mimi kama senator napeana reward sasa ya 1,100 kwa mtu yote ataleta information ili tutashika grenade na tushike suspect wa Al-Shabaab ambao wamekuwa wakimaliza maisha ya watu wa Nairobi. Kwa hivyo tumetangaza vita na Al-Shabaab, tumeweka anti Al-Shabaab squad yetu na tutahakikisha tunapigana sasa na Al-Shabaab. Hatuwezi taka watu wanakuja hapa kumaliza maisha ya Wakenya, ya wana Nairobi. Kwa hivyo narejelea, kama unajua kuna Al-Shabaab mahali yako na grenade, nitatoa shilingi 1,100 kutuletea hiyo Al-Shabaab na grenade tukamate. Kwa hivyo peana information kwa polisi.
Now, 23-year-old woman is fighting for her life at Nairobi's intensive care unit after she was diagnosed with encephalitis, that is at Nairobi Hospital, a rare condition linked to the inflammation of her brain. Viral infections are the most common cause of the condition, but doctors are yet to isolate the virus causing the inflammation. Salim Bill reports.
It's a picture frozen in time, a time when 23-year-old Marilyn Odera was healthier and happier.
See, very happy girl.
It is that memory that this family chooses to hold on to. Marilyn is currently fighting for her life at the Nairobi Hospital's intensive care unit.
She told me that she feels nauseated, that when she smells food, she feels like it's chemical. That's how it started.
1 minute she's okay, the next minute she's grasping onto you and she was heaving and she was telling me that she was not feeling well.
Doctors ran tests and put her on medication to raise her low blood pressure. She was rushed to hospital days later after she suffered a major convulsion.
By the time she was being taken to HDU, she was now very disoriented and she couldn't speak. But she could still recognize people and would still wave when people come to see her. But they said because she's convulsing heavily, she'll injure herself, so they told me they want to take her to ICU to induce a coma.
An MRI test showed that Marilyn's brain was inflamed.
The covering of the brain and inside the brain is infected. They call it viral encephalitis, but the specific virus that is causing it is what they cannot understand.
Severe cases of encephalitis, while relatively rare, can be life-threatening.
Usually the usual manifestation, first of all, is in terms of confusional state. Somebody gets confused, gets disoriented, have abnormal behavior that people think, oh, maybe something is quite wrong with this individual.
That's how she is up to today. It's like a nightmare that, we cannot get over because first of all, it happened very fast. Insurance can cover only up to 500,000. By 4 days ago, the bill was 3.5 million, and we were incurring a bill of around 300,000 per day.
Generally, when somebody has got something like what called an encephalitis, you use what is most common and most treatable. So even if it's another virus, you're probably going to treat as herpes, because should there be a chance that it's herpes, then can get treatment. If it's some other viruses, then you might not be able to treat it.
Every day is a strain for them, not only emotionally but also financially.
Drug is 72,000, another drug is 82,000. So 2 major drugs are costing 150,000 per day. But she's not responding to these drugs. Our lives have stopped. We can't do anything. We are just praying and hoping that God will do a miracle.
And we wish them all the best. Now, Kenya MP Kanini Kega and former Assistant Minister Mwangi Kinjuri have backed the government's resolution of paying the Anglo-Leasing controversial debts. The two said refusing to pay the debts, as directed by the court, is only inviting interest of 250,000 shillings per day. The two spoke yesterday during a church service in Nyanyuki.
We don't have time to waste. For every 4 days, 1 million. Swali ni hili, hata tukisema hatutalipa, tuko na embassies kule. Wataenda kule na watafanya nini? Watachukua, they will sell. Na haitatosha, so they wait for any other place. Sahi tunaenda kuomba pesa, inaitwa sovereign bond, 190 billion. Wakati tuliweka hiyo matarajio yetu kwa meza, tukaulizwa, mnataka kukopa 190 billion kutoka nje. Kama hamuwezi lipa 1.4, hii 190 mutalipa. Zilikuwa 4 contract 4 kwa moja. Zingine mmelipa, lakini hii hata koti imetoa amri, kesi imeisha na lazima mlipe. Hata kama bunge itakataa, Wakenya bado watalipa.
Now, illicit liquor, a stumbling block towards Jiga's menace, it has been identified as a major stumbling block in the fight against anti-Jiga campaign in Kiambu County. Speaking during an anti-Jiga campaign at Gashagi slums in Thika, Hadi Kenya Trust CEO Stanley Kamau said poverty has led to many joining the drinking class, leaving families sleeping on the floor, thus exposing them to jiggers. Kamau, however, said a cordial relationship with the government and other stakeholders has helped reduce cases of jigger infestation in the country and the wider central Kenya.
For us to be able to win the fight against jiggers, we must as well be able to win the fight against alcohol abuse and drunkardness.
Ndudu zimetukula sana, zinatukula mpaka miguu, mpaka mikono. Unaona hiyo mikono vile iko ni ndudu.
For years, residents of Kaikar village have had to travel long distances to get water. It therefore comes as a relief to the 1,500 families when the national government, through the Constituency Development Fund, dug the first borehole in the village. Zedikoske reports.
Residents of Kaikar village are a happy lot. The new borehole is a sight to behold for many who had never seen such in the years they had lived in the remote village situated in Turkana Central. Area Member of Parliament John Lodepe says that it was the plight of the residents who did not have access to clean water that resulted in the decision to put the constituency development funds into digging the very first borehole for the villagers.
Hapa yote maji yake yalikuwa ni makali. Yalikuwa mtu akikunywa yanaenda yanafunga kojo, anapelekwa hospitali. Sasa leo tunashukuru Mungu, maji mazuri ambayo yanaweza kukunywa na mwanadamu yamepatikana.
The excitement of having a source of clean water was also seen in the children, who at first were apprehensive at having something new in their village. Residents say that the borehole is long overdue, as they had experienced difficult times having access to water for domestic use as well as for their animals.
Hata nyama yote yenye ilikuwa hapo yote imepata maji, mbuzi na ngamia na ng'ombe na punda. Yote hata umbwa yenye ilikuwa nyumbani, kila kitu imepata maji, hata ndege yenye anaporuka juu. Sasa tunashukuru katika hiyo kila kitu yote kwa sababu imepata uhai.
The remote village of Kaikar faces many challenges, and while a single source of water may not solve all their problems, the residents feel that it is a good start. Zedi Kozge for Citizen Live at 1.
Well, Citizen Live at 1 takes a short break now. Sports and business news still ahead. City.